greatest show on earth.
Welcome back to the Con Culture Combo, guys. What are you laughing at? Already laughing at me?
You always wind up
do
the
the
W. Go back.
I look like I'm stuck. Welcome back
You lean
to the
into
Con
it.
Culture Combo. I know, it is true. I do wind it up, don't I? Like, blow it in. I am your co-host, Chris Bauer, by the way. That is Tim Hyde. We're back this week.
Let's go.
To talk about Steel CityCon. This is our Steel CityCon review. This is their summer show, which is, I would not say it's the big show. It should be the big show, but really their spring show is slightly bigger. But this is, again, one of their 3 shows that they put on every year. It happened last week? Yeah, about a week ago. August 8th through 9th, or 9th through 11th, I think it was. Not 8th through 9th at all. August 9th through 11th. And we were both there.
Yes, we were.
So we are going to review Steel CityCon in its entirety. Talk to you guys a little bit about the load-in, the crowd, the expenses of the show, the value of the show. And we're going to try to do our reviews this way consistently going forward. So without further ado, unless you got something else to jump in there, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where we're trying to create a consistency when it comes to reviews and give everybody that's kind of a vendor and everybody out there is thinking about being a vendor. And it doesn't have to necessarily be just cons, but just overall business sense of like, hey, this is how we do it. You can match this with almost any live event style type of situation that you're doing, whether it's, you're a band, you sell arts and crafts at concerts or at parks or wine walks or whatever, like, and Comic Cons, anime cons, gaming cons, like, it's just, it's something that I think that I wish more other people did when I was starting and figuring out like what kind of basic things are.
All right. Well, let's jump into the review of Steel CityCon Summer Show. So first of all, load-in. Well, let's preface this by saying Steel City runs their shows very tightly, and you have to set up on Thursday. There is no Friday setup, because if you don't set up your booth on Thursday, when you get there Friday morning to set your booth up real quick, your booth already got sold and you did not get a refund, and they won't even bother telling you. Everybody that does that show kind of knows that you literally have to do it Thursday. They start the next morning at 9:30 a.m. So there really isn't a lot of time to set up. So you have all day Thursday to set up and load in. So that's what everybody does. One of the, I would say, easier load-ins in the con world. They have just a huge door at the side, and I don't like that it's on a very steep hill because I have to push a very giant cart.
Yes.
However, that withstanding is probably the worst part of load-in. Other than that, once you're in, you can load right to your booth and set up all day. So I would, for me, I like their load-in. It's a very low pressure. There's always plenty of spots to pull in back there, either a parking spot or just pull on the side or whatever. So that's my thoughts on their load-in. What are yours, Tim?
Load-in is easy for sure. You just got to get there. I don't think there's really a better time to get there than not. I think it's pretty spread out through the day. Obviously, that little rush in the beginning for the first 20 minutes, but outside of that, it's not this,
They have it down.
That hill uphill. I don't know why they have to make a hill so drastically high. I don't get why. See,
I wish they would let us load in the front door.
Convention center that has a hill.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like I load my car.
Other than that, I would say it's a top 5 easiest load-ins.
It's seriously, it really is. Yeah.
Would you say the top 5 easiest load-in?
I agree. Yeah, it's pretty easy. All right, cool. So load in, easy peasy.
That's cool.
And that gets us on to opening on Friday. So again, vendors cannot get in until an hour before the show opens, which is 8:30, because they open for VIPs at 9:30. So at 8:30, dude, they do a Disney rope drop, and all the vendors can swarm to their booths. You have 1 hour to get set and ready. And when they open at 9:30, hundreds and hundreds of people will run in. Not to you. They run into the autograph room. It is an autograph heavy show. I'm sure you guys have all seen Steel City's guest lists over the years. They always pull off crazy gets in the autograph department, and their guests expect that. So they run to get into lines. So Friday tends to be, in my experience, and I know we've talked about this many times, a long day because it's 9:30 to 8 p.m. and it's legit. You got to be there the whole time, and it is busy. Probably never on Friday. It might get busy mid-afternoon sometimes, but almost never. What are your thoughts on that? On Fridays? Yeah, I figured. We've talked about it many times.
It's the longest con day of the year.
It can be brutal. Yeah. It really can. Yeah. It can be rough.
I would say it's the longest 3-day show of the year.
Yeah. It is. Everywhere. It really is. I mean, when you go 9:30 to 8 is a long day just for a Friday, especially a very low-key Friday. But it can sometimes be good sales, and sometimes it can be just really dead. It just depends. But I thought traffic was decent on Friday. I didn't think it ever got really busy, but I had mostly steady traffic throughout most of the day until about 5 or 5:30, and then died hard. Yeah,
which is unusual because we discussed this. Why was it the reverse? Where everybody, in theory, should be arriving to the show that has jobs or does whatever. Sure. Like 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock should have a decent little like bump up, and it died. You should. I mean, 4:30 for me. I was like, died. Yeah, I could leave. I don't.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Just was a weird crowd.
And it's probably a good time to mention that you can't leave at Steel City, because if you leave early, again, they run a very tight ship. If they see that you've closed your booth up and you're not at your booth and say it's like an hour before the close, you will have a note on your booth the next day that will be a warning that says, if you leave early again, you will lose your tables next year. And I have watched them do it. They will take your tables for next year or the next time the show is, which is incredible. It really is.
Correct.
I mean, but that's how they do things, so they keep everybody there until close. I guess that gets us to,
we typically sneak out about 5 minutes early if we're lucky, but I mean,
if you can, sometimes you can get lucky and get out of there 5, maybe 6 minutes early, but I mean, you pretty much got to be right there to the end. So it can be a little brutal, but anyway, that gets us into Saturday, the big day of any show. And it starts off the exact same way. 9:30 they open, and it goes nonstop. I will say this year on Saturday, about the same time, about 6:30, it died hard again, which is not normal for Steel City. Steel City will normally go to at least 7 or 7:30 with steady business, but at least for me, I don't know what your experience was, it died really hard at 6 or 6:30 on Saturday this year.
For me, it was slightly earlier. It was like about 5:30, which sucks because I had a couple trickle in from like 6 and 7, whatever. But I mean, I think the show could have ended at 6, and I wouldn't have lost any money for me personally. A couple bucks, but like I said, which like we said earlier, that is unusual because that show does not typically die off that soon. both days.
Not usually.
Friday and Saturday died off way too early. Way too early.
It did.
And I don't know
Especially
why.
on Saturday. Friday can be expected from sometimes, but yeah, Saturday's normally pretty steady. It was still a good Saturday, but it definitely had that early cutoff. So, and I guess that brings us to Sunday. Now, have we discussed where I've always had? I guess we could take a side note. I've always had the same spots there at Steel City. I'm on the J aisle. I am not facing the main entrance, which I like. I am facing the autograph room, which to me is the main entrance because everybody runs when they get to that show into the autograph room. And then when they finish, they come out of the autograph room and my booth is facing that entrance. So you've been all over that room. Has there been do you like where you're at now? Do you like a better spot somewhere else?
I definitely want to be on the main aisle, obviously. Kind of close to where you're at, but maybe the other side, down an aisle or two or something. But yeah, I'm definitely not super duper ecstatic about my spot, but I'm not hating it. I want to be closer to the front, like of the, not front, but I guess the middle. So, but it's one of my better spots I've had because I've been on the wall, I've been on the far side, I've been I'll happily stay in the area I'm in right now. I have good neighbors, that have the jerky guys next to me are super cool. Pokemon got a car behind me. I mean, I feel like I'm going to be invited to someone's wedding at some point with how long we've been staying at the same spots next to each other for so long at this point. So
I'm pretty close to my booth mates there too, which, you know what, I will say that's another unique thing about Steel City. Because it's 3 times a year and because you constantly have the same people next to you, you do actually get to be really good friends with the people that are set up around you. More so than other shows. Like I don't know these vendors outside of Steel City, and I look forward to seeing them at Steel City every time. So it is an interesting show that way because, again, you only have 6 foot, so you're on top of each other the whole weekend. You are back to back. It is very tight in there, and side by side, back to back. So it's you definitely get to know people.
I mean, I definitely think that's something that new people need to know, though, is you can't have a 10 by 10 booth there. You're not getting that space.
There is no 10 by 10 booth there.
Yeah. It's a 3 by 6 foot space.
It truly is. And it's 6 foot from the front of the table to the back. So it's 5.5, 6 feet. If you get rid of the table, you do have 5.5, 6 feet to work with right there. And then you have 6 foot wide per spot. Not 8 foot where you can get in on each side. You can make a little room there. There's some wiggle room there, but it's usually within a few inches. It's very tight. You definitely have to plan and you have to know your neighbors. You can't ignore them. It's not something you can just not talk to them. You really have to get to know them.
Right.
So getting into Sunday, again, starts off the same way. Starts off definitely slower, way slower. I don't think I really got going till noon or after. So it was definitely a long couple hours from 9:30 up till noon to get going. But it goes till 5 o'clock. And I would say on Sundays, even this one, Sundays are notoriously good at Steel City. They can die very early, which this one definitely did. Again, around 3:30, it really had dried up for me. But which is pretty
days,
typical.
Like we always say.
That's right. You could end it at 4, and I don't think anyone would mind. It would be very nice. Especially a show with that long of hours. I think they could easily end at 4 on Sunday, and everybody would be very happy.
Especially the winter one, because it's already dark like an hour into,
Every time, by the time I get out of there, it's always pitch black. it definitely makes a big difference. So that was overall. So I guess crowd wise, each day, I mean, we kind of talked about each day, but overall crowd wise, I did feel like it wasn't as thick of a crowd as the April show, but that's not crazy because April really is their big show. They come out hard for the spring show, and it's kind of their big show of the year. And then the next two shows get just a little smaller as they go on. At least in my experience. Is that yours?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that crowd was down by about 20%.
I agree.
Now,
Yeah,
I will
I
say
was
this.
going to say.
I think the crowd was down 20%, but I think that lower crowd volume was actually spending more than normal, which kind of sucks because, I mean, it's great for that, but it sucks because if there was a full crowd and they were spending at the rate that they were, because my aisle never got busy, and that's highly unusual for at least 2 to 3 hours a day. Now, every day it gets to a point where like it's nuts to butts, and it was not like that at all the whole time for me. The whole time.
Yeah, earnings wise, I ended up being down from April. Not huge, but I was down. At least hundreds. It was more than $500, so it was definitely down for me from April. But again, April was their bigger show, so I guess it's all kind of relative. But I guess this is the part where we want to talk about what goes into a show expense wise for a show like this. And it's going to be different for everybody. Obviously, booth cost is the same for everybody, especially at a show like this where they sell by the table. There's not really any 10 by 10 spots. So there's no different spots. Now, Artist Alley is obviously different. Actually, it might not be price wise, though. I really don't know what Artist Alley tables cost, or if they even differentiate.
$50 less a table.
Is it? Okay. So it's a little bit less than Artist Alley, but I know I pay. There is a difference on fees. If you're a returning vendor, it's cheaper than if you're a new vendor, because I know the new vendors are paying $300 a table, and I know for 3 tables I pay $810 total, which obviously is I'm bad at math, so whatever that breaks down to. I don't have my calculator in front of me, but either way.
270? 270. 270.
Right.
270
a table.
Give me math.
So,
wow, I didn't even use a calculator. That's impressive. My mommy would be
not
so
a huge
proud
difference.
Of me.
$30 difference if you're a new vendor compared to returning vendor. Not a huge difference, but for 3 tables, that's a $90 difference. So that can definitely add up. And as far as expenses that I factor in, I'm sure, and this is probably the same for you too as well, Tim, I always factor in my food. I factor in my motel. I factor in my gas, or if you flew, obviously your flight. And then miscellaneous expenses like any parking fees or any tolls or any things like that. Whatever you would put into the miscellaneous. But for me, my total expenses for the normal motel, gas, food expenses all equaled just under $800, and then ended up being just under $2,000 when I factor in my tables and my print costs. So I had just right around $2,000 in expenses for this convention, which might be high for somebody. That might be a lot different for whatever you sell. I'm just trying to be transparent on what I have going into it as far as expenses goes. How about yours there, Timbo?
So I'm going to break mine down one by one just for you.
Nice.
And for all of our lovely millions and millions of followers.
So my followers,
booth was $540 because yeah, for me.
You have
they're
2
here for the
instead of
jersey,
3.
the sexy blue kit. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, season starts this week, big baby. I'm ready.
Nice.
So the booth was $540. So because I only do 2, I am currently upgrading to 3 though. So I'm hoping they give it to me because I've
That'd be
been
cool.
fighting for that for.
I feel like you'll get it. There was a lot of new vendors at this one. And I will say this. I think new vendors quickly
Yeah, we'll see
discovered,
how many of them did well.
if they did well or not, whether or not they want to come back. But also, if you want to continue to do Steel City, you have to commit to 3 times a year, because you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to skip the next show. You have to buy your tables for the next show there at that show.
On site.
If you don't, they sell them to somebody else right then on Sunday, and they'll flat out tell you they'll be gone.
Correct.
And they do. They sell out. So you have to commit. It's a 3-show commitment per year. So not a lot of people like to try it, but not everybody comes back because it's not a show for everybody. But it is a big commitment as well. It's definitely something they always do an April, August, and December show. Those months can get full. December is pretty much open for a lot of people, but April and August can be very full of shows, and it is a commitment. Sorry, I interrupted your expenses. Go for it.
Yeah, it did. Thank you. Appreciate it. My hotel was $331.10. The gas was $90.99. Definitely much cheaper than the last time I drove there. Being in Greenville now is only a 9-hour drive instead of 17 or some ridiculous thing.
That's nice.
My food was $108.10, and my inventory cost was $214. So my total cost was $1,284.19.
Okay.
So not too bad.
That's not too bad. That is not too bad. My hotel was more because I was coming from another show, so I had a couple more nights on it. So I had like $490 in hotel costs for the week, and then my gas was like $113, and my food was around $120. So
my hotel
was for the week.
My hotel would have been probably $200-ish more. But I used a free night coming there and back because they both expired on September 1st, and I had no other shows coming up. So I was like, I'll take these free nights. I just can't. They expire September 1st, and I'm like, okay, cool. Credit card bonus, great.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll take it.
That's always nice.
How do we qualify? How do we qualify the? How do you
my
do this?
personal qualification, I think you and I have talked about this before, and I think we share it. I know I always look at a show that is good and returnable and something that I like to be at as in the neighborhood, in the ballpark of 3 times earnings would be 3 times expenses. That I always try to aim for that with a show.
So your sales being 3x your cost.
Exactly. Yeah, because your cost can go up and down per show. Your what you bring in is going to go up and down per show. But I like to use that as a constant, which I think we've talked about before. We both like that 3 times.
Yeah, I agree.
Number range.
So then let me hit you with it then. Big Money Bauer.
Big money. I don't think it's big money.
Big Money Bauer over here. Did you hit your 3x minimum happiness number with after cost? Like your
I definitely got it in that neighborhood, and it definitely is worth returning. So yeah, I would say yes. I mean, there's always going to be conditions to that, especially with this show. And I'm not saying this happened on this one. I felt very happy with what I made there. But this show, sometimes you'll take almost an L on one of the shows just to keep the booth. And that is also the danger of this show, or shows like it, where you have to basically keep buying your tables for the next one. But this one is a very unique show. You really can't name hardly any other show that does 3 times a year, and does this that
successfully.
Way. Yeah, and they are successfully. Amazingly, the people just keep coming back, and they spend money, and they're very loyal. And it's just it is an interesting show. It's very unique, I would say. But yes, I would say I definitely hit my threshold.
They're the most. They're the most. They're definitely the most privileged fan base in all of cons with how that guest list is. My God.
Yeah.
They they get they get bigger names than New York Comic Con, MegaCon combined sometimes.
I mean, they'll
and
pull out
now, mind you, if anybody's ever been in Monroeville,
what?
it is not a metropolis, Mecca, New York City type of place. It's
last year they had Mike Tyson
and
Melissa
Alec Baldwin. They got
they were the first show to bring in Chevy Chase and Randy Quaid. Like, these guys are always pulling off crazy gets. It's impressive.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. Because it's not great. Like this year, they had the air conditioning went out in 100%. The Celebrity Room, and they had to bring in air conditioners. And I don't know how they sat there dealing with it, because I walked in there one time. It felt like it was 120 degrees in there. Oh, it felt horrific. I didn't understand how they were sitting in there doing that. But those people still lined up. So how about you? How did you? I will
give a comparison for people who travel to. You just cut me off. I was going to say a nice description on the terrible heat in there. Yeah. So
you froze.
I'm going to give
That's why
little.
I just got you back. What was your question?
Well, it's because I'm so good looking. I just freeze,
Or your Wi-Fi's terrible.
Okay, I'm back. One of ours is terrible. I am definitely not.
One of them. I mean, I'm in a
not fast.
So
yeah.
Surprise. What was your question about the? What was your question?
I was going to make a comparison. I'm going to make a comparison for the people. If any of you guys have ever been to Orlando International Airport, anytime from June to probably late September or early October, and you've landed, you got your bags, you're excited to do whatever you're in Orlando, and then the doors open to get picked up, and that heat comes in like somebody opening an oven door and it goes on. That's how it felt in the back.
That's how it felt.
Yeah.
Because it was all humidity just like the room.
Same heat, it was like humidity, gross nastiness.
It was a wall of heat. And it was all
the air wasn't circulating. It was not great.
Not
great.
It was gross
either.
Yeah. It wasn't great.
BO, cigarettes. Yeah, it's fun.
It was rough.
But yeah, so I actually my 3X, I was around it. Yeah. I was happy with what I did.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm doing a new thing, and so this has been a first kind of W for me that felt really good.
Because you've launched a new business this spring. So
yeah, and so
that is
I'll give credit where credit's due. I beat Fan Expo Denver by $100 at Steel City.
That's insane. So, it really is, because I think Fan Expo Denver was my best show of the year so far. So that's incredible. Because you're also talking about what would you Fan Expo Denver gets almost 100,000 attendees, and what would we Steel City probably gets 10 or 15,000?
Yeah, I would say they get about 5 to 6 a day in there.
Yeah,
a day. Yeah, so I would say 15, just maybe 20 on the higher end if they're really.
That's crazy that you would make that much better money at Steel City than Denver with that crowd difference. Correct. Pretty incredible.
And 30% of the cost.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, because Denver ain't the cheapest show to be at either. Yeah, that's incredible, man. That's good though. I mean, again, Steel City, it's one of those shows that I enjoy doing all 3 a year. A lot of people don't, and I understand why. It's a big commitment. I like having a consistent show that you don't always make the consistent same money at each one of those, but they're still consistently decent. And some of them are great, and then some of them, a lot of them are good. And that's 3 shows, that's 3 weekends a year that I know I can almost always make a minimum that's always pleasant. That I'm fine with. And then a lot of times I'll exceed that minimum, so it's just one of those shows that I think is, for me, a good investment to keep doing. I enjoy doing that show. So
would someone call that a Paducah 9?
a Paducah
If you were
9.
going to compare a show
That show's a
number?
Paducah 9. I don't know. I don't really know what a Paducah 9 really would be.
It's a nice Monroeville 8,
Monroeville 8. For those that don't know, I live in Paducah, Kentucky, which is a very small city, which is what Tim is referencing. Therefore, we would think certain shows would be better. However, no, I think it's. I think she stands alone. Steel City, honestly, is so unique. There is no other show that I do 3 times a year of the same show.
No.
Yeah, it's really unique. I mean, I guess you can. Well, you can't even count a fan expo or anything like that because they're in different cities. So this is at the same convention center, same type of crowd, and they show up, man. They show up and do it. So
very loyal too. Once you get them, like a lot of people who are going to be doing the show that watch our podcast or, read reviews, whatever, they try to jump on board and do a show.
Sure.
Do Steel City. You can't just do it one time and give up. And if you do, you can't ever go back, to be honest, because it's one of those things where you have to put in 3 a year.
You really have to commit to at least 1 year. At least 1 year if you're going to try it. That's 3 shows. Yeah. You're going to have to commit, because if you do it one time, you're not going to get a good feel. Because your first time's probably not going to be great. Or it might be great, and that second time's going to be terrible. You need to get them acclimated to you and get them into the pool, so to speak. So if you're going to try Steel City, I definitely would. If you get in, I would commit to 3.
Correct.
At least.
Yeah.
After that, then you can assess if it's worth it for you. It's not going to be worth it for everybody. I think people's different things are going to sell better there. It's a classic toy and comic show. I think I do well there because I have a very diverse selection of 80s properties, compared with new animes. So I've got a really wide selection. I think that's why it does well there. Yeah. If you have all anime, I don't know how that's going to do there.
I could tell you from experience, it definitely didn't do gangbusters,
Right.
Now, let me put the little asterisk on you, and you're going to be really surprised by this. Really surprised. The whole show, all 3 days of Steel CityCon, August 2024. I did not sell for a fact.
Oh, okay.
I did not sell a single Has-Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss piece.
That's crazy.
Time.
Wow. I sold a lot, but that's pretty typical for ours. But yeah, I've been at certain shows where it drops. It is weird. Even when something's super hot like Has-Been or Hell of a Boss, you'll still get certain shows where nobody cares about it at that show, and then it'll go right back to normal at your next show. It is interesting. That's really weird. So you didn't sell a single one, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm definitely not retiring by any stretch of imagination, but it was just unusual. I looked at my inventory and I was like, this is the exact amount. And I started thinking, and I was like, wow, I didn't sell a single one of these. And I sold some pretty off the walls. I sold Solo Leveling, but I didn't sell.
Yeah, Solo Leveling is definitely a good one right now. But that's interesting. Yeah, I would not expect Has-Been to be nothing just because I sold a good amount of it, which is pretty typical of every time I'm on a show that stuff sells.
Correct, which is so unusual. I brought like 50 of them, and I was like, let me put all 50 back in my inventory box.
I would not hate you for bringing 50. I think that's a smart move to have of Has-Been Hotel because, that's normally such a hot commodity. That's interesting. Huh. It's so weird how different shows or different things sell for different people.
So I know the next show I'm at, I'll end up selling, I'll bring 20 and end up selling 20 and be pissed I didn't bring more. So,
Sure. That happens every time.
But if you drive, there's a little fun fact for everybody here. If you drive to a show, bring everything you fucking can. Stop being flipsy with it. No. Bring it all.
You keep whispering.
Bring it all. Like,
you whispering.
I know. It's sexy.
It's whisper time. Nothing sexy about what we're talking about.
Wide open. Welcome to this place.
Oh, we all want you to stop doing that. So, what are your final thoughts on old Steel CityCon? Any others? Oh, did we cover Loadout? I don't think we did. But Loadout honestly,
easy. There you go. Problem
it is. Yeah, I know it really is. In fact, I will say this:
that shitty
Loadout's
easier. That shitty.
What?
I was gonna say that shitty hill they go up is now the awesome hill going down.
Well, that's true too. If you're gonna load out the back,
I love the front door.
Exactly. You can't go in the front door when load in, but you can use it on load out, which makes no sense. But I love it because I park right at the curb and I go right out the front door, and it's an easy load out. But I don't know why you can't use the front door to load in. It's really weird. So I don't know.
I think it's because they still sell tickets and they don't want people sneaking in or something.
It could be.
Because people pick up their passes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess they do. But they have those little outbuildings, so they could just move that down. But I guess, again, they don't want people coming in during that. So I guess that's all it is. But yeah, loadout's even easier than load in there. So yeah, I definitely recommend
10 out of 10
I like
for load in, load out on that one.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great. So other than that, I mean, that is our review of Steel CityCon Summer Show 2024. I definitely recommend it, and I will be returning as usual.
The big question, will you be back December 6th through the 8th?
That is correct. I have already purchased my tables, and I will be back right on J Aisle as usual, December 6th through the 8th, 2024. So,
correct.
Yeah, what'd you decide?
You can find me at H10 and 11, and hopefully maybe 9 or 12 or something. If I can get it
right. Add on an extra table to it,
or Paxton, my staff.
Sure,
we'll be there. I promise.
Yeah, it's a good show. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review of Steel CityCon, and stay tuned. We'll do other reviews of shows coming up with kind of the same format. And maybe you guys enjoy them. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you liked about the review and what you would like us to see cover in our reviews. Maybe we didn't mention something that you would always kind of wonder about shows. Yeah, feel free to interact with us. I promise we read them.
Absolutely.
So, all right, buddy, you got anything else?
We do. Cool. Awesome.
All right.
We'll see you in December.
Sounds great. And we'll see you guys next week.